Okay. You guys got any questions or anything while I'm going through this process? Okay, so I'm tying in the poly yarn to the back of the hook. Okay, I'm going to leave this a little rough because I really don't need to trim that off or spend the time to trim that off. Alright, so I'm using black synthetic dubbing material. I used to use black rabbit, and then I kind of ran into this problem of animal fur. Animal fur is great. It's for tying nymphs and stuff like this, but animal fur, you know, absorbs a lot of water, and it's very difficult to give up water too. So once you get your fly wet, if you use animal fur dubbing, it's very hard to get that fly dry again. And so I really recommend the lighter synthetic dubbing material basis for tying all your dry flies.
Are you also trying to get some of the buoyancy? Is that for the buoyancy, a little bit of lift on it, or just for dryness, like dry?
Buoyancy, we're going to talk about that a little bit, but you know, when you tie dry flies, I think the guiding principle that I use for tying drying flies is to create, when you're tying flies, you want to create the greatest, you know, illusion, the illusion of the greatest mass with the least amount of material. Because what you want this thing to do is float. Right, and so if you use a lot of thread, if you use really heavy hooks, if you have a tendency to overstate your flies, you're using much more material than what it really takes to float this fly. And so as a fly designer by myself, you know, the principle that I use is, even with hoppers and minnow patterns, is that not only because it's more efficient use of material, but you know, I don't want to sit here and, you know, and wrap this. I could use thread as the building material for my flies, but that would be a completely overstating of the issue too. But I want to create the illusion of that body that the trout sees in ways with the most efficient use of my materials, because I want this thing to float. All right, I want this thing to float. Okay, so that's the body, and if you remember the images of the actual body of the adult, it's and the larva, it's a long tubular kind of shape. There's nothing tapered about it. Okay, now I'm going to attach a grizzly hackle to the front part of this fly, and to me, the legs, these are going to be the legs. This is optional, because I can actually just fish this pattern as well, just with the body and the trailing shuck. All right, and I know it works. It works because I know that the fish see this as well. What I'm going to be showing you is the end product just before it turns into the adult, and so I'm going to give it like no more than 2 whips of the hackle. Again, this is to suggest the legs, mostly to me. Okay, and now okay, so that's the fly pattern. It's very simple, really straightforward, very basic, you know, fly tying steps. Paul, can we get back into